Well, welcome to the talk. So firstly, I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming. And Path Solaris, the first one, obviously, I think everybody knows by now, it means path towards the sun. And the sun representing our higher self, your ego, the higher self, inner knowing. So that's how we heal in Path Solaris. The second slide, you will see Neng Yi, these two Chinese characters. And Neng means ability or able to, and Yi means heal, medicine, healing. So Neng Yi together means that anything that you want to heal, healing is possible, no matter how difficult or complex something is, or how long you've been stuck in that pattern. Healing means that you can heal and you can break out of that mode or that pattern. Yi Neng also refers to like an ability, like Neng Yi can also refers to like a doctor who's capable, a healer that can make healing possible. So that's kind of always just in my office as a reminder. And sometimes I feel like I don't really know what to do for the patient with all the symptoms. This kind of comes up to say, yeah, it's possible. So Chinese medicine is powerful science in its own right. With over 3,000-year history. So the classical texts and everything, the characters that we have from 3,000 years ago are the same characters that we have today. And so we can always refer back to this library of all the best minds of Chinese medicine doctors. We have access to them. So it's very robust in that way. What kind of illness or diseases we have that resource to kind of refer to. So the next slide you will see, and this is a little bit more of what we'll go into it today, the science itself. There is this sense of the multivalent versus bivalent scientific paradigms. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with what multivalent versus bivalent is. No? Yeah? No. So valence is actually from this Latin word which means valentia, which means strength. And valence carries the idea of interaction. So it can be used to describe the amount of attraction or repulsion between two things. So valence. So bivalent would mean that there is just two things where they're either attracted or repulsed from each other. And multivalent means that there are many, not just two. So you kind of think about this in the way of like the stream of consciousness or the stream of thoughts from the Western side of things, which mostly starts from the Greek philosophers, right? Like Aristotle, Cartesian, like that stream of consciousness, those philosophers in the Greek times, where something is either true or false, right? Something is either black or white. It can't be black and white, right? It's very clear. Something's either true or false. It's either A or not A. So that is the stream from Western thoughts. But then if you think about it from the Eastern thought philosophy side of things, it starts from Taoism, it starts from Lao Tzu, from Confucianism. Their thinking is very different in the sense that they are more multivalent. Like they have this idea that everything, for multivalent, everything is understood in the context of the whole. So that's why multivalent asserts that everything is understood in context of the whole, and they're all in degrees of it. They're all in degrees of each other, and it's that relationship. So bivalent is part of multivalent paradigm, but it's a small part. So that's how it's kind of like the metaphysical conception of the world from an Eastern perspective and from a Western perspective is different in that sense. So multivalent versus bivalent science. Bivalence is good when you need accuracy, when you need things to be black and white, like when you are doing surgery, you know, the spleen is a spleen, like you need that very clear delineation. You need things black and white, it can't be nebulous. But then by multivalent science, it's good when things are gray, and you need more simplicity to kind of reduce that complexity into ways to kind of navigate those grayness. So they each have their place depending on which context or what we're trying to do or achieve. So that's the part about multivalent and bivalent. So right now what we'll do is we will try and do an exercise. Okay, so there'll be, last couple times I was talking a little more. It was more like a lecture, but then this time around I just kind of want to do a little bit more of an interactive kind of experience. Right now we will do the sphere exercise. Okay, so what I request you to do is to close your eyes. Okay, and as you do that, picture a sphere, a transparent sphere, and kind of look at that sphere and kind of say, hey, is it big or is it small? Can you fit into it? And if you can't fit into it, can you expand the sphere? Okay, and then step into the sphere. And now when you're in the sphere, step into the center of the sphere, walk to the center. And as you're standing in the center for a moment, just feel like how it feels to be in the center. If you want to, you can stand up too, you can move around, kind of feel it in your body, like kind of feel how it feels like to be in the center of the sphere. You know, look around and just take note of how that feels for you, what comes up for you. And as you look around, start tracing the edges of the sphere, the 360, you know, to your left, to your right, up, down, everywhere. And then now, after that, take a step towards your left or your right, and now you're standing on the edge of the sphere. So see how it feels to be on the edge. You can again use your hands to trace it around, feel, stretch around, try and touch the edge. And what is your perspective from the edge of the sphere? Is it similar or different from being in the center? And what felt sense comes up for you? So just kind of take note of it again, and just, you know, give yourself some time to explore being on the edge. And then when you're on the edge of the sphere, glance back to the center and start paying attention to all of the empty spaces that is between where you're standing on the edge and the center of the sphere. And each position on this sphere is a point, and each point has a coordinate, and that is always on the context of the entire sphere. And so this is multivalence. Basically, everything is in connection with the other. And then the last part is kind of imagine that you have now this giant paintbrush on your hands. Okay, it's like a Chinese paintbrush, one of those that you use for calligraphy. And then at the center of the sphere, there is this pool of white ink. And on the edge of the sphere, there is this black ink. If you take the paintbrush and dip it on the center with the white ink, and you kind of pull that all the way to the edge where the black ink is, and then you pull it back again, you just start mixing it all around the sphere. You get eventually, you know, a whole sphere that's filled with many different shades of gray. And that is all the shades of grayness that is in the entire sphere in between. And so again, That's the shades of grayness between black and white. And in the middle, it's all white, and on the edges, it's all black. But that is only the extreme case of the bivalence. And in that situation, the matter moves differently. Like on the edges, it's A equals not A, true or false. And then in the middle, it is actually A equals not A. So it's like where A can be true can be equals to false. So they behave differently. And then now open your eyes, and you can look around you, in the room, and all of us. Kind of, this is our positioning. Like we are each in the sphere. Like if you imagine the room as the sphere, and then the bigger universe and the context as the sphere, it's like we are all in grayness, and we're all in relation to each other. So that's the idea of multivalence from a Chinese thought perspective. That is kind of interesting and different. Yeah. Do any of you have any experience to share with this exercise? Like anything that was interesting that come up for you?
I have a question about it.
Yeah.
Like, how does this relate to the practice itself? Like, is this something that's visited when you're trying to solve for the problems people have?
I think the question is, how is this in relation to the practice of Chinese medicine?
Right. So when practitioners try to take a person and consider all the possibilities in the sphere when trying to figure out how to treat something specific, or how, can you give an example of how this would respond in the real world?
Yeah, definitely. So like, remember the part where I mentioned that you are in this different position and you have that coordinate? Mm-hmm. So each disease pattern could be the symptom picture would be a particular coordinate in that sphere in the context of the whole. And so I'm going to go deeper into how that technology works and how that influences Chinese medicine. But and so it's the next part. So let me go into that right now, so that I won't jump ahead. Do you have any other questions or experiences? Yeah, about that. Wendy, do you have anything? Okay. Okay. So the next page is the multivalent versus bivalent paradigm again. And so A is usually what we refer to as yang, which means light, when daytime, when it's bright. And it's represented by a solid black line. And then non-A is equals to non-light, when there's the absence of light. And that is what we call yin, and is represented by a broken line.